ביאור משנה זין. משנה זו באה ללמד. We're going to continue with the לחי. This Mishnah comes to teach. מה יכול לשמש בתור לחי לתיקון המבוי? What can you use as a לחי when it comes to a mavoi, when it comes to the street? By the way, it also applies to sukkah. Let's say you have a sukkah with 2 walls. You need at least 3 walls in a sukkah. You have a sukkah with 2 walls.
Now you want one more wall.
And Aryeh, I didn't tell him, but Aryeh came. I'm sitting in the sukkah. I can't eat because it's Sukkot, and you're not allowed to eat outside of the sukkah. And Aryeh comes and he leans on one of the walls. So the question is, can I use a person now as what? As a mechitza because he has 3 tfachim. Can I use it? Maybe yes, maybe not. That's going to be the whole disagreement over here. We're going to see some. Yeah. מה יכול לשמש בתור לחי לתיקון המבוי? But we're not talking about sukkah. We're talking about mavoi. Same idea. I don't know if everything is exactly the same, but the thought process is the same. אלא שדרך אגב מובאות בו גם הלכות אחרות. Once we're going to discuss this, we're going to discuss other things that have nothing to do with us, but we're going to see. Yeah. שאינם שייכות אלינו, that don't belong to us. Okay. בכל עושים לחיים. It says there is everything you're allowed to make a לחי. In everything. In everything. אפילו בדבר שיש בו רוח חיים. Even with a donkey. Even with a camel. Whatever you want. Yeah, you can use a donkey, you can use a camel, you can use whatever you want. כל דבר, as long as what? We have the measurements. It needs to be how tall? כל שהוא גבוה 10 טפחים או יותר. As long as it has 1 meter tall. יכולים לעשות לחי, להכשר, לעשותו לחי להכשר המבוי. We can make it aside. ואפילו דבר שיש בו רוח חיים. Even a living animal. כגון בהמה, like a cow.
Why doesn't it say kosher behema? Why doesn't it say kosher behema?
It doesn't have to be kosher. It can be a camel. It can be a donkey. It can be a lion.
Anything.
You need a mechitza. I don't care what it's made out of. It can be a pig. Oh, very good. So it says, what happened? But the mavoi, the sukkah, as long as it's there, you're allowed to eat. But in a mavoi, it's going to move. Exactly. והיינו, so it says, שקושרים אותה בחבלים ליתדות התחובות בכותל המבוי או בתקרה. It says, it will not be able to move. Why? Because you tie it down. You make a ring over there, and you tie the donkey there. That's it, you're done. It says, באופן שאין חשש שמא תברח משם. You're not worried it's going to run away. No, it's tied. That's it, it's there. Or, you're also worried in other things. Maybe the donkey is tall when he's standing, but he decided to sit down. So now he's going to sit down. It's going to be less than 10 tfachim. He's going to be less than the measurement. So you say, so you tie him up. So he cannot sit down. He can sit down. או שמתרבץ תחתיה ולא יהיה גובה 10 טפחים. Okay? ורבי יוסי עושה, Rabbi Yossi says, no, you cannot use animals. What is this? An animal is an animal. You can't use an animal as a side. לעשות לחי בדבר שיש בו רוח חיים. It says, why? Rabbi Yossi, what's the problem? What's the problem? Who cares what it is? As long as I have a mechitza, it's good. Yeah. Again, we're talking about the opinion that maybe it's not a sign, that's one thing. But the opinion that it makes a mechitza, it's a mechitza. What do I care? Because let's look what Rabbi Yossi is worried. Rabbi Yossi is worried about something else. שחוששו שמא הבהמה תמות ותתכווץ. It says the donkey is going to die, and after 2 weeks, you know what's going to happen to him? It's going to become nothing. It's going to be less than 10 amot. Maybe the day he died, he still stayed there for 10 amot, but then all the bugs going to eat him, and that's nothing. Nothing will remain. No, that's a different issue. It's theoretical. It's theoretical. It's not physical.
No, but if you matir, you give a hater for something, then you get to tzarban lechem.
Yeah, but for example, if you're going to see later on, you're going in a caravan in the middle of the desert, and you're walking on horses. So the question is, can you tie the horses in a line to make a mechitza? And then metat Shabbos. So it's not sar balei chaim, it's practical application, we're going to see later on. Yeah, that's why they're even discussing it. So we're worried, maybe לא תהיה גבוהה 10 טפחים. We're worried, maybe the height will not be 10 טפחים. ואנשי המבוי לא ייתנו דעתם על כך. And then the people are not going to pay attention that it's an opening. ויטלטלו במבוי על סמך אותו לחי. And then they're going to come and carry because of that לחי. ברם, תנא אינו חושש שמא תמות. תנא קמא tells Rabbi Yossi, look, what are you worried about? Maybe it's going to die? Maybe it's going to be an earthquake and the lechi will fall. What do you mean maybe? We don't deal with maybes. It's a good thing, we're doing it. שמיתה אינה שכיחה. He tells them, look, animals don't die. Animals live for 30 years. You know, it's not an animal that's going to die. It's not a butterfly. You know? So we finish with this thing. Now we're going to discuss things that have got nothing to do with Eruvin. Yeah? Nothing to do with Eruvin. Let's see what. ומטמא משום גולל. And he's going to become tameh because of golel. Now let's explain this. The simple explanation of golel. I'm a Kohen, so I don't have experience. I've never been to a funeral. But in the end of the funeral, when you bury a person, you cover the grave. Either with sand, in some places they put a stone. You've seen there's stones on top. Yeah? They're like a long stone they put on top. It's called the golel. Now, a person needs to, when there's a funeral taking place, he needs to cover, and then he says the Kaddish, and then he goes home. Right? So let's say he goes to a place, he digs it up, puts his dead person there, and then there's no more sand. He cannot cover. The sand is gone. There's no stone over there. So he says, hey, what do I have? I have a donkey. I'm going to tie the donkey on top of the opening, and the donkey is going to be a covering. Again, not practical. We're talking theoretical. Can a donkey be a covering? That's the question. So the answer, what's the problem? The problem is you're not allowed to say Kaddish, the last Kaddish, until it's covered. Until it's covered. The same problem as us. You're not allowed. So it says, since we said you're allowed to use animals as sides, so also you're also allowed to use the animal as a covering. So now, if you're allowed to use the animal as covering, now he's saying the animal now becomes tameh, becomes impure. Because usually an animal cannot become impure.
Why?
But over here, because you used it, no, it's a live animal.
So why would it be tameh? Because of the net out there, or?
Oh, because it's you. Yeah, it's a dead person.
It's used for cover of a mat.
Yeah. Usually a donkey, if you put a dead person on it, the donkey doesn't become but over here you used the donkey as a covering. So the question is, if you say the donkey can also be a side, can also be material, right? You say it can be mechitza. That's the idea. It can be a mechitza. So it says, umetame mishum golel, and then the donkey itself becomes tameh because of golel, not because of a dead person touched it. You used it as a covering. וכן מטמא דבר שיש בו רוח חיים משום גולל. So if you use the donkey as a covering, now the donkey becomes tameh. שנאמר בתורה. It says, where do we see this? It says in the Torah, וכל אשר ייגע על פני השדה בחלל חרב או במת או בעצם אדם או בקבר יטמא 7 ימים. It says all that is going to touch on the field of battle in a dead person or in a bone or in a grave, it will become tameh, it will become impure for 7 days. ודרשו כל אשר ייגע על פני השדה, and they said, what does it mean everything that will touches on the face of the field? לרבות גולל ודופק. What's golel? The golel is the covering. What's the דופק? We're going to see soon. גולל הוא כיסוי שעל פי הקבר או על המת. The גולל is the covering. ודופק הוא הדבר שהגולל נשען עליו. And the דופק is the thing that the גולל is leaning on it. Let me explain. Yeah, I'll explain. Now, usually today, the graves of today don't have a דופק. Some says that the matzeva is like a dofek. That's the idea. You know, the matzeva itself. It's like a side. You have the side and then the stone. Yeah. But that's not the way it was used then. How was it used then? If you go to old kvarim in Israel, I don't know. Actually, I never went because I'm a Kohen. But
I went to Har
yeah, but Har HaZeitim is modern. Talking about the old ones, real the old ones, like the Tanaim, where the Tanaim are buried. So many times they will be buried on a hill. There was a hill, and they will dig into the hill. So you see, the opening is not down like this. It's this way, and there will be an opening over there, and they will take a round stone, and they will roll it into the opening, and then they will put another stone to hold the stone so it won't roll too much this way, too much that way.
So
that
it's like
it closes it, yeah. So it says both the stone that's covering and the stone that's holding it, both of them are become tamei.
That's the yad.
That's right.
It's stone on the side.
Yeah. ובא משנתנו ללמד שאם עשו בעל חיים גולל לקבר, that if you made an animal covering for the grave, וכגון שהיה כפות ונתון על פי הקבר, he was tied on the קבר, והנוגע בו טמא 7 ימים, and anybody who touched it is going to be impure for 7 days, וכן שנו, בהמה שעשה גולל לקבר, and this is in אוהלות, we're going to learn this when we get to it, when we comes to אוהלים, it says, when an animal you made it a covering for a grave, הנוגע בה טמא טומאת 7. It says if you touch it, you become impure for 7 days, if you touch the animal. Yeah? ורבי מאיר מתאר, Rabbi Meir says, you guys are crazy. A live thing cannot become tameh. Says, what are you saying, tameh? I know that you're using it as a tool, as a covering, but it's alive. Live things cannot become tameh, live animal. שהוא אומר, כל שיש בו רוח חיים, אינו מטמא משוגע. Rabbi Meir says, look, if it's a live thing, it can never become tameh. I don't care what you use it for. טעמו של רבי מאיר מבואר בגמרא, שכל מחיצה שעומדת ברוח, Rabbi Meir says that every mechitzah that is strong, it can stand in the wind. What does it mean? Usually you would say strong that is made, that can stand wind, that the wind does not blow him over. But he says, no, it means kol mechitza sheyesh baruach. If it has spirit in it, that's the way he learns it, that it is alive, eina mechitza. In other words, it's not called the mechitza. So Rabbi Meir says, first of all, you didn't do covering. And therefore, because you don't have a covering, you can touch the animal. He says, what do you mean, she'eina omedet beruach? Eina omedet beruach, when you say, mechitza eina omedet beruach, it means that it's like flimsy. It says, an animal on top of a grave, you don't mean to keep it there forever. It's a flimsy, it's going to go, you tie it there until you can get a stone, right? So therefore, it's not a proper mechitza. If you put a piece of wood, even though it's temporary, it's a mechitza. Even though I know in 2 hours you're going to move it, you're going to put a stone. I know but an animal, you cannot call it even temporary. It's not even temporary because it's not made for it. It's not even, that's what Rabbi Meir says. שעיקר אמיתתה דבר שאין בו ממש, because that's not the way it is. A piece of wood, I understand, sometimes it can stay there for a week. You're not going to keep the donkey over there for a week.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or, משום שמחיצה שאינה עשויה בידי אדם, אינה מחיצה. There's another argument, some says, that any מחיצה that is not man-made is not called a מחיצה. And this is not man-made. יש גורסים גם בריש בעניין הלחי. So this is they say, Rabbi Yossi will have the same argument with the lechi. He says, forget about it, a donkey is not a mechitza. Why? Because it's made to go away. It's not real. ורבי מאיר אוסר, וכן הגרסה בנוסח המשנה שבגמרא. Okay? And we can see the logic of Rabbi Meir. Another topic that has nothing to do with us.
Let me just ask a question on the past. What if a stam is a behema going to a cemetery? לא יודע, הוא עושה פרחים על הקבר, והוא אוכל מהקבר.
No.
הוא נהיה טמא?
No.
It doesn't become טמא.
No.
אבל he touched the קבר, it says. כל שיגע בקבר, כל דבר that touch.
This is exactly what Rabbi Meir tells you when it says כל דבר, it needs to be a tool, something, an object. It says something that's alive is not מטמא.
אבל a human being, if I touch a קבר.
Only a Jew. Special things for a Jew. When we get to Ohalim, we learn about that. Well, we don't know the rules about that. You're right. We didn't learn any rules about yet.
But this doesn't make sense when they said that the animal can be
animal. Yeah, animal does not transfer. A live thing does not transfer to. Okay, another thing that we're going to learn, which is very strange, nothing to do with us. When you write a get, you need to give it the get. You need to give the book or the parchment to the woman, right? So it says, what happens if you write a get on a cow? You carve it on the cow. You wrote it on the skin. You wrote it on the horn of the cow. Is that a kosher get? In other words, it's another use. Can you use an animal for a get? A live animal? Are you allowed to use a live animal as a get? So let's see. V'chotvim alav gitei nishim. You're allowed to write on the donkey or on the ox, for example, a get for your wife. Not for your wife, somebody else's wife. What? No, alive. Alive. That's not, if it's met, for sure. Every get is on a met. Every get is on a parchment. Yeah. You give it to her. And if the get is going to go away.
You know how they make the simanim ala animal?
Yeah, exactly.
You hear the get.
Yeah, but you will have to write it by. There's rules on how to write it, but somebody writes it. So yeah.
It's possible.
וכותבים עליו גיטי נשים, you're allowed to write on a live animal, a get for a woman, וכן מכתוב לכתוב get על בעל חיים, כגון על הקרן של פרה, for example on the horn of an ox. But it comes with a stipulation. You're not allowed to cut, after you write it on the horn, you're not allowed to cut it and give it to her. You have to give her the whole cow. Why? ובלבד שייתן לאישה את הפרה כולה, as long as it gives the entire cow to the woman. שכן אם הוא קוצץ את הקרן לאחר כתיבת הגט, because if he's going to cut the horn after he wrote it, הגט פסול, it's not going to be a kosher get. Why? Because it says, וכתב לה ספר כריתות ונתן בידה. It says, when he writes to her a ספר כריתות, and then he gives it in her hand. In other words, מי שאינו מחוסר אלא כתיבה ונתינה. Don't do anything in between the what? The writing and the giving. You're not allowed to do anything. Over here, he wrote, he cut, and he gave. That's not allowed to.
So you can cut, write, and give.
That's right. That's right. But so if he wants to, he wrote it on the animal when it was alive. Now you have to give the entire animal.
You said it.
That's right. You cannot do anything in between. אבל זה שמחוסר היה מעשה הקציצה בין הכתיבה לנתינה והוא פסול. But if you do anything in between the writing and the giving, for example cutting, then it's not kosher. But that's a side issue. It's only got nothing to do with the live animal. The live animal is still kosher with the get on it. Right? ורבי יוסי הגלילי פוסל. רבי יוסי הגלילי says again, you're not allowed to. את הגט שכתבו אותו על בעל חיים, he says you're not allowed to give a get that was written on a live animal, משום שנאמר, because it says, look at the verse. What does it say? It says, וכתב לה ספר כריתות. It has to be a book. It says, where do you guys come from? You can write on anything? Do you like Rabbi Yossi?
The question is what sefer?
Exactly what that's what it says. Who says what a sefer is? A sefer is anything that you write, or not a sefer. That's what you're going to say. ודורש מכאן רבי יוסי הגלילי, and רבי יוסי הגלילי says שהגט צריך להיות כספר. The get has to be like a book. מה ספר דבר שאין בו רוח חיים? It says a book is dead, it's not alive. אף כל דבר שאין בו רוח חיים. So it has to be at least something dead, but it can't be a live thing. תנא קמא דורש את הכתוב ספר כריתות. So how the תנא קמא learns the ספר כריתות? לעניין סיפור הדברים, it says the word ספר means that it needs to tell you what happened. The document has to be clear. That's the way he learns the word ספר. והיינו שיכתוב בגט סיפור דברי הכריתות. It says you have to say exactly the words, that it has to be clear, like a book, what's taking place over here. Don't just say, I sent her away from home. What does it mean? She's going on vacation, she comes back after 2 weeks? That's to be clear. That's the way תנא קמא learns the word ספר. שהוא פוטר את אשתו ומתירה לכל אדם. What does the book has to say? That every person now is allowed to marry my wife. That's what the book has to say. בעניין גולל יש להוסיף כמה דברים להסברו. We finished that. We see we're going to have a little bit more explanation of what is גולל. פירוש שונים נאמר במהותם של גולל ודופק. There's many explanation when it comes to this גולל ודופק. רש"י מפרש שהגולל הוא כיסוי של ארון המת. רש"י says the גולל is the covering of the coffin. והדופק היינו דפנות הארון שעליהם נעשה הכיסוי. And the דופק are the sides. Again, the דופק and the גולל. רבנו תם מקשה על פירוש רש"י. רבנו תם disagrees with רש"י. והוא מפרש שגולל הוא אבן שמצבה. He says the גולל is the stone of the מצבה. והיינו אבן גדולה שנותנים על הקבר. It's the long stone you put on top of the grave. לאחר שקברו את המת וסתמו את הגבר לשם סימן. In other words, why do you put a stone there? So that people will know where the guy is. ומפני שאין האבן מטלטלת אלא על ידי גלגול, נקרא גולל. It says, why is it called גולל? It's because that's the way they used to carry it, to roll it. מלשון וגללו את האבן. This it says, and they rolled the stone. והדופק הם שתי אבנים תחתונות, אחת לראשה של המצבה ואחת לרגלה, שהמצבה נשענת עליהן. I'm not quite sure how it looks like, but it looks like they had two stones over there to hold the matzeva. You put the stone and you put a stone over here to hold it and a stone over here.
It looks like it's in angle because it said אחד לראשה ואחד לרגלה.
Yeah.
כאילו...
maybe this way, like a triangle.
כן, כאילו.
Maybe.
אחד לראשה ואחד לרגלה, זה אחד גבוה, אחד נמוך.
Possible. It might be אחד לראשה, אחד לרגלה, one in the top of the grave, one at the bottom of the grave.
Stand straight.
Yeah.
Could be too.
Yeah. I don't know. ויש מפרשים שהגולל הוא כיסוי הקבר, and there are those who say that the גולל is the covering of the grave.
So what's the argument? Is either it's the כיסוי of the קבר or either כיסוי of the מת? Here I don't understand what's or it's inside down there where the מת is. ומחסים זה האבן הגולל, ואז למעלה זה מצבה.
That's right.
Oh, that's
right. In other words, you're going to say, when can you say Kaddish? You remember the guy went to say Kaddish. So as long as the Rashi says, as long as you cover the dead person with a piece of wood, you're fine. Rabbeinu Tam says, not enough. You need to put sand and you need to put a stone, then you can go say Kaddish and go home.
This stone, that's the golel.
That's right. Because until the golel is done, you're still burying it. You're still in the process of burial.
So there is people that if they didn't do the matzeva yet, they can say Kaddish.
Not the matzeva. As long as you have something on top. As long as you have something on top. You can put sand, it's enough. Even Rabbeinu Tam says sand is enough.
But why said the golel?
Because that's the custom. The custom was to put the zel. But even if you didn't, you still have enough.
Okay. Yeah. As long as it's covered.
As long as it's covered, yeah. You use the sand as the stone. Okay. It's temporary, let's call it. It's a temporary, that's a temporary thing. That's what he's saying. A donkey is not temporary. That's what Rabbi Meir says. You can't even call it temporary. It's a donkey. What do you mean temporary? Sand, I'll agree with you, it's temporary. But because later on you're going to put a stone. But a donkey, that's exactly what you said. Okay. There are some... where are we? ויש מפרשים, there are those who explain, שהגולל הוא כיסוי הקבר. They explain that the גולל is the covering of the grave. שבזמן שהיו נוהגים לעשות הקברות בכוכים שבמערה. That there used to be a time that they used to put the graves inside the cave. In other words, when it's inside the cave, they didn't dig down, they dig straight. היו גוללים אבן על פי הכוך או על פי הפתח של המערות. And then they would put a stone, they will roll a stone into the opening of the hole of the dead person inside the cave, or the opening of the cave itself that covers the whole thing. It's like a room inside the room. והאבן הייתה עגולה, the stone was round, ומגלגלים אותה לצד חומת המערה, and you would roll it to the side of the cave, כשרוצים לסתום את הפתח, when you want to close the opening, ולצד חוץ כשרוצים לפתחה, and then you will roll it to the outside when you want to open it. וכדי שלא תתגלגל בחזרה לצד החוץ, and in order for it, so it doesn't roll all the way out, כשסותמים את הפתח, when you are blocking the opening, היו נותנים תחתיה אבן אחרת. You would put another stone to block it. כדי לעכב את הגולל, so it will not move anymore. והוא הדופק, and this is called the דופק. ובזמן שעושים את הקברות בחפירות שבשדות, and at the time that you make the graves, when you dig in the fields, לאחר שחופרים את הקבר כל צורכו, after you dig the grave enough, בונים מכאן ומכאן את דבעות להניח למעלה מהם אבנים גדולות לכסות את המת. You build like shelves to put big stones over there. והאבנים נשענות על האצבעות. And these stones are laying on these shelves. והאבנים שהם למעלה מן האצבעות נקראות גולל. So the stones that are all the way on top are called the גולל, לפי שהמת נגלל בהם, because the dead person is covered in them. והאצבעות and the shelves שמכאן ומכאן נקרא דופק. And then the shelves that the stones are standing on, those are called דופק. שהן צלעות, they're holding it. See, also Rashi says the side of the coffin is holding the top of the coffin. So it's the same idea. וצלעות נקרות דווקי. And the sides are called דווקי. והאצטבעות שהן הצלעות, and the shelves, that these are the what the stones are laying on, היו עשויות שורות אבנים מכאן ומכאן. There used to be rows of stones from this way and that way, אבל האבן שנותנים כדי לעשות נפש לקבר אינו בכלל גולל. But the stone that you put in order to write, like Ar Matzeva, he says, are not considered to be golel. The Matzeva itself. What we call Matzeva. Yeah?
That's not the golel.
That's not the golel. The golel is the stones right on top. Yeah, that's right. Or the big stone.
And the kever, the matter.
Yeah, or all the way on the top. But the Matzeva is not, it's almost in the head of it's not even on the kever. The Matzeva, if you notice, I don't know, I've never been, many cemeteries are different. You will see that there's a stone, a long stone laying down, and then they will put a Matzeva on the top. But the Matzeva is not on the grave itself. It's in the head.